Hello everyone, welcome back to the medical education video series. We're going to do a little something different this time. We're going to talk about what's wrong with education, what's wrong with medical education, but really what's wrong with education as a whole. Now, this is a tremendous topic, huge, and there's no way we're going to be able to tackle everything. So I have been thinking a lot more about this lately in regards to my children in school, when they come home with questions. And I started to think, what are they teaching my kids in school? And then from a broader sense, I started to think, what are we doing in education as a whole? Whether it's you're an elementary school teacher or a physician, we're doing a lot of things wrong. And we're using a model that's, turns out, several hundred years old. So what I thought I would do is put together a little something that really isn't new, but it's really caught on in educational circles in the last couple of years. Everybody's talking about it. It seems like conferences are basing content based on it. People are really trying to rethink how we teach, specifically physicians, since that's what we're talking about. But how do you teach adults, and where do you go to where the learners are? And I really do think it's time that we rethink education. It's time to rethink the way that we've been doing this, because we're not really doing it very well, I don't think. And so we're going to ask lots of questions, and there'll be more questions and answers probably. And if you've got any comments for this, please send me an email, and maybe we can put together a little video follow-up to answer some of your questions. This is a traditional way of teaching. Everyone in this room is a student, and you show up, and we've all been there before, whether you're in the US or Europe or somewhere else. Everyone's been in a classroom, and you've all had boring teachers, and you've had people who are not very motivational, and you've had to sit through lecture after lecture after lecture as a child and as an adult. And if you think back to your medical school days of just sitting in talks over and over and over again, here are some children in elementary school. And just ask yourself how many of these kids are actually listening and learning to the content of what the teacher is saying. Zero. And not that all teachers are boring, and not that all teachers don't motivate, but I think a lot of teachers stand there and they don't really think about what they're getting to their students. We do this in adult education as well. I realize kids are very different. They learn differently. But I think we do this in medicine as well. We have grown to think that giving lectures is the best way to do this. Lots and lots of conferences clearly based on this, where you go to lecture after lecture, and if you've ever been a speaker at a conference, you're told to get your handouts in on time and develop objectives, and everybody goes through the rigmarole of developing slides and bullet points. And you know what? It's just become boring. I guess, and hopefully you would agree that going to a lecture for 60 minutes is just almost impossible to sit through. By the time you get to 5, 7, maybe 10-minute mark, definitely beyond the 20-minute mark, you're thinking about other things: your mortgage payment, your relationships, your kids, your debt, your job, your dog, whatever it is. Lectures just can't hold our attention. And yet traditional education is really built on giving lectures, and it's a several hundred-year-old model. But this is what you get. You get people who are just sound asleep. Adults are even worse. And I'm only 42 years old, but I can tell you that over the past 10 years, my tolerance for poorly constructed lectures has really gone down. I just can't sit through it. And so I need personally shorter lectures. I need take-home points that are practical, things that I can use when I go back to where I work. And I don't need bullet points. I don't need all this stuff moving around on the PowerPoint slides. I need to be awake, and I need to be somewhat entertained. Some people call that edutainment. You get taught and entertained at the same time. And I need to be challenged a little bit and motivated. But this is what most lectures look like. People are asleep. They're thinking about other things. They're on their iPhone, their iPad. They're doodling. They're paying bills. They're doing all these things. They're not focusing on the lecture at all. Now, a couple of years ago, my son here is on the right. My daughter is on the left. I noticed something with my children. My son, who is now going to be in 7th grade, I noticed a couple of years ago when he came home, and he had difficulty with a math problem. He's in a pretty high math class, and he had difficulty with a math problem that I had to look up. And we talked a little bit about what was discussed in class, what he got out of it. He just missed the concept, couldn't grasp it. So based on a recommendation of a friend, again, this was several years ago, we went to the Khan Academy website. And if you haven't been to the Khan Academy website, Khan Academy, you've got to go there. Whether you're a kid or an adult, or you have kids or not, this is a great website. So we went to the Khan Academy website and we sat and we had my son listen to about a 6-minute video that explained the concept that he had missed in class. There's, I think, over 3,000 videos on this website from math, science, economics, all kinds of different topics. So he sat down for 6 minutes and within 6 minutes instantly grasped the concept. Now, why he was able to do that at home in front of a computer and not in class, I'm not sure. I wasn't really sure if it was actually the way that this guy Salman Khan, introduced the topic. I wasn't really sure if it was the mood my son was in. So I wasn't totally convinced that it was the Khan Academy that actually captured him. So turns out a couple of weeks later, he came home with the concept, couldn't get it. He sat down for 3-4 minutes, instantly got it by watching the Khan Academy. So started to think maybe there's something to this. And I started trying it out on my daughter when she would have an issue with something. And it obviously didn't come up much, but I sat her down. She watched a 3-4 minute video, instantly got the concept. So I started to think that if my children, and I started to talk to other people who had kids who were doing the same thing and they were going to the Khan Academy website, I started to think if they can grasp these concepts in 3 minutes, and these were concepts, by the way, that were taught over the period of an hour or maybe 50 minutes, what are they doing in class? Couldn't their time be spent at home, 4 minutes getting the concept, and then classroom time going over examples and maybe real world examples and maybe getting more interaction out of it? And maybe the teacher would have more time to spend with students who didn't get the concept at all. And it made me think that we're just not doing things right. We are really basing, and still we base our education and the way we teach kids and adults on a model that's from the 1700s. It's amazing. No one's ever really questioned the way we do things until recently, it seems. So I was convinced that there's got to be something to this flip the classroom model, that the student, whether it's an adult or a kid, does the learning at home through whatever means, a website, a blog, a podcast, whatever. And then they come to class with the concepts in hand, and then they can get much more valuable interaction. Because really what I think this relates to is what the job market is going to look like for my kids and your kids is jobs and people who interview people when they get out of college. They're looking for people who are creative and innovative, not people who sit through class, which is everybody, sit through class and just learn stuff and forget it all. So I started to think, well, maybe there is something to this. Class time could be spent teaching about how to apply these concepts that were learned at home as opposed to just standing there for 50 minutes teaching the concepts. Because kids, when they come home, they don't want to spend 50 minutes learning the concept. They learn the concept at home, they go to school, and then they can learn creative and innovative ways to use those in today's world. And I think that when these kids finish school, they will be in a situation that's very different than what it was like when you and I went to school, where we learn everything at school, come home, do homework, go to bed, that's it. And so I started to rethink the system and rethink the way we teach things. And I've read several books on the topic, and I've talked to several educators, and I think there really is something to this. Now, again, my son is going to be in 7th grade. I'm pretty good at math. I'm a pretty smart guy, but he comes home with math that I just can't do anymore. And so I have to look things up. And I went to the Khan Academy website and looked up some topics that I haven't really looked at for years and years and years. I was a biology major, biochemistry minor, and these are topics that I just haven't looked at for years. And I was even able to sit down as an adult and pick up these things in 2-3 minutes. Some of these videos are 4, 5, 6 minutes long, not very long at all. And this guy's a great teacher, and you just really get the concepts. So I use this to review to be able to help my kids. And it's got topics. The Khan Academy website has topics that are not just for kids. Clearly, it's actually got some medical stuff on it, economics. I learned how the stock market works, how stocks and bonds and how people trade. I learned that just recently. I really learned it, understood the concepts and what it really means recently on the Khan website. So I've learned a lot as an adult just from going to the Khan Academy website. By the way, I don't belong to the Khan Academy website, and I get zero money from the Khan Academy. I just think it's a great website. Here's how a lot of people learn, and this is something I've clearly learned and witnessed, and many of you will sort of nod your head the same, that you give a talk at a medical school or a conference, and this is what you look out and see in the audience. Everybody on their laptops, everybody on their iPads. but it's just a lecture. It's gotten better over the years, more interaction, more videos. You can see some stuff. But if you look at the picture, there's people that clearly are on YouTube and other things, and they're not paying attention to the medical stuff, and they're checking email. And we go to conferences as adults, and we do the same thing. So it's not perfect, and I'm not sure it's the way to do it. Still a lecture, still people standing in the front of the lecture hall talking about stuff, blah, blah, blah. Now, clearly, there are some good speakers. Amal Mattu, Mel Herbert, Diane Barbarmer. There are some great speakers that can captivate and hold your attention and motivate you to be better, a better doctor, a better person. They're out there. They clearly are. But most of us are not like that. And so I think the lecture is definitely a misused tool in education these days. Here's sort of the traditional learning. You go to a lecture and then you're handed a bunch of not so great textbooks and review books, and you go home and read it. Here's a book that I know all of you would look would look forward to reading, Principles of Neuroscience. That's a barn burner. That's a stay up late at night reading. And so this is traditional education based on big old textbooks. Go home and read. Come to lecture. You get lectured for 50 minutes, tons of material thrown at you. And this has been the traditional way we've taught for many, many years. Here's Saul Kahn from the Khan Academy. Brilliant guy. And I think he has hit on something that just makes sense. It's not necessarily his idea. You'll hear frequently this concept of flip the classroom, but he's really popularized the term, and you'll hear his name and his Khan Academy website associated with it. The concept is quite simple. The concept is you get your core concepts and understanding before you come to class, as opposed to the traditional method where you come to class to get your traditional understanding of concepts and things like that. So flipping the classroom, and you can do this with medical students, you can do this at conferences. People prepare beforehand, and then you can have a much richer, more engaging discussion, a more helpful discussion, knowing that people have prepared. Again, people have to actually do the preparation. If they don't prepare, then they're not going to be prepared. But the concept is you can utilize that time much more effectively. And elementary school is a great example. You can utilize that time much more efficiently and be much more productive and develop creative, innovative students, as opposed to just lecturing and teaching and lecturing and lecturing and lecturing. So the Khan Academy website was brought about by this guy. Brilliant idea. Used to work as a, not a banker, but some type of financial analyst, and worked with money and the stock market. Got out of it because he had helped a family member with some math and developed some videos, and the videos caught on fire, went viral, and then he made more and more and more of them, and eventually developed thousands of them, and gained the attention of Bill Gates and other people who really, and I agree, think this guy's just a brilliant innovator in education. And so I think a lot of the things he teaches are dead on. Here is Mr. Khan in his house developing these videos. Quite simple software to develop these videos. Again, you can go to the Khan Academy website and see thousands of these videos just by categories, math, science. It's amazing. But he initially developed these out of his house. In fact, I think it was a closet that was a makeshift office, and he had a microphone headset and a computer just like this. And he developed these simple videos. He kept uploading them, and then eventually they grew and grew. People from all over the world download these things. And he talks a lot about the development of the Khan Academy in his book, The One World Schoolhouse, which I'll show a picture of in just a second. But very simple concept. The concept is basically this, that we don't use school time effectively. Now that's for kids. For adults, I think it's kind of the same thing. We don't utilize adults' time effectively. We spend the lecture time lecturing instead of engaging and asking questions and doing small groups and doing the things that we know make us better and smarter. Here's his book. I read this book about a year ago. If you're in education at all and you teach people in any capacity, this is a book that you really have to read. And the book talks about the Khan Academy, obviously, but the book talks about what's wrong with education. And it really gets into things that I just wasn't that familiar with. For example, the traditional system in the U.S., where you start kindergarten and go up through 12th grade, is based on a Prussian model from the 1700s. And this concept of you've got this subject for an hour, and then this subject for an hour, and then this subject, and you go from room to room to room. and you got lunch at the middle of the day and then you go home. That was a concept that had been around for a long, long time, and we're still in it. We're still teaching and emphasizing the same things from a long time ago. And these were important things 40, 50, 60, 70 years ago when we were in the Industrial Revolution and creating jobs. But things have changed. Jobs have changed. People are looking for creative, innovative thinkers. They are looking for people who appreciate the arts and who know worldly events, and not just people who sit down and can do calculus and science. I mean, those are important things. This book really opened up my mind. It really made me think that the school system is broken, not just in the U.S., but in the world. And we have to do a better job educating. This is a really, really great book. I've read it twice. I've got the audio. I just can't get enough of it. And it's really energized me to think that we need to rethink the way that we are teaching and delivering teaching, because we've got to make things better. And I think we can. This is what class time should probably be spent on. Group discussion. There aren't many people in this discussion, but people get actually a lot of things out of group discussion, much more so than the lecture. So these people have done their preparation beforehand, and they come in with an understanding or a pretty good understanding of the concepts. And then now they can apply these concepts and actually utilize them and prepare for a world that is looking for students who graduate who are creative and innovative, people who can think and solve problems, not just people who can take tests and go through each subject one after another. That gets boring. People are not looking to hire those types of people anymore. So let's just say for a second that you have been assigned to, really at the last second, you've been assigned to give a lecture to fourth-year medical students on chest pain. So, you can do this really with no preparation for the most part, right? You can go in and talk about the deadly etiologies of chest pain, and you can give them some cases. You could probably do this with zero preparation. You go in and you start teaching and you start talking about D-dimers and dissection and MI and PE, and you end up just lecturing to the students. It's a natural tendency, then that's the way we've been exposed to this growing up, is teach, teach, teach. Well, what about if you gave them something to do before they came to the lecture, and instead went over cases and had them solve how to work up cases? Much more valuable for the students, and the students really appreciate this. So the next time you're given one of these assignments, maybe think about the Khan Academy way, where you give them some things to do beforehand, and then you can have much more enjoyable, to be honest, much more enjoyable interactions with students during that time frame, instead of just standing there lecturing. Let them do that stuff at home. They're smart people. They can go to blogs and websites and podcasts and read articles as well as anybody. So you can utilize that time much more effectively. This would be your traditional. You're told to give a lecture to medical students, and you put something together, and maybe you even put together a PowerPoint slide or two. Boring. That's easy to do, and you'll probably entertain some people, but some people are going to be bored with this approach. And I think to become a more effective educator and to really be at the cutting edge of education, we have to really think about what our teaching methods do and how our teaching methods fit into how learners learn best. Learners don't learn best by lectures. They don't learn best by attending lectures. And so I think we need to transform our efforts and change the venue and change the methods that we use to reach learners. And it's not the lecture, people. It's just not the lecture. So what if you used FOAM, free open access education? This is really where things are. Mike Cadogan, I think, developed this concept in a pub. Probably was drinking a Foster's Lager. He's just not telling us. He's telling people it's an expensive beer. It's probably just a good old Foster's. But FOAM is something you're going to hear about over and over. If you haven't heard about it, you've probably been on hiatus and you haven't had exposure to your computer or iPad. Everybody knows what FOAM is. FOAM is free open access education. It's a way of getting information quickly through blogs and through podcasts and the internet, and really utilizing all that's out there to enhance your learning, and to do it on the go, to do it on your iPad, to do it at home, to do it when you want to do it. And I think this is really changing the way people think about emergency medicine education, that you don't need to lecture. Now, am I saying completely kill the lecture? No, I don't think the lecture is completely dead. I don't think the lecture will actually ever go away. I still think you're going to have lectures. I still think you're going to have live courses where you get the most brilliant, motivational entertaining speakers like Amal Mattu and Stuart Swadron and Mel Herbert, you're still going to get those courses. But I think we've rethought the way that we teach emergency medicine education, and foam is the way to go. Here's lifeinthefastlane.com. If you haven't seen this blog, I'm not sure where you've been. This is probably one of the best resources or central resources to go and look at foam. You can see foam here at the top of the screen. It has its own tab, and you can get a directory of podcasts and blogs, and you can get updates. This is a great blog resource to go to sort of know what the world of foam looks like. So, you know, the textbook's not totally dead, but it's damn near dead. It's really, really close. And learners are really not going to textbooks anymore. People are on Twitter and social media, and they're going to blogs. This is where people learn the best, I think. And if you talk to people who are in the process of, you know, maybe they're in medical school residency, you know, if you tell them to read something and force them to read something, they probably will, but they'll be bored and they'll go on to other things. Learners today learn differently, and this is where things are. This is where the learners go. I've always said that teachers should go where the learners are. And if the learners aren't in textbooks and the learners aren't in the classroom, meaning mentally, then the teachers should go to where the learners are. If the learners aren't in the classroom and they're not mentally there, then why would you want to develop a brilliant lecture? Again, I don't think lectures are totally dead, but we should go where the learners are. And if they're on foam, if they're on blogs and podcasts, we have to be experts on these resources, and we have to be experts on guiding learners to these resources. In fact, I think we need to be experts in developing these resources. If your area of expertise is in electrocardiography, well, good luck, because Amal Mattu already dominates that. But let's say it is. It's in electrocardiography. Where would you develop your teaching resources? You know, would you write a textbook? No, it's a waste of time. Develop some videos like Amal Mattu did. People go to videos. People go to podcasts. Develop a podcast like Amal Mattu did. That's where you draw on your learners. That's where you draw on people who are attracted to your special area of interest. Go where the learners are. What's wrong with education? Tons of things are wrong with education. The way we teach it, the way we lecture, the way that we move from subject to subject without allowing students to integrate material. This is a topic that's clearly going to take a long time to tackle, and it's going to take years and years for educational experts to come to terms with what people really need to do to change the system as it stands. It's a very entrenched system. It's been around for a while. We've got to be creative and innovative, and that's the beautiful thing about foam. The people who are developing foam material, the people like Mike Cadogan, Chris Nixon, I could go on and on, are just simply brilliant people who realize where learners are. They realize where they need to go to captivate their learners. Here's Ken Robinson, brilliant professor of English, speaker, writer. He's got a number of really, really good books out. I highly recommend that you go to the TED website and look at his videos that he has posted there. You will, in general, just feel better about yourself and about education and about your role as an educator by watching some of his videos. He has 2 or 3 videos, about 18 minutes apiece on the TED website. So your assignment after this talk, your assignment to help you as an educator contribute to the world of foam, your assignment to improve the status of education, not just globally, but from, and I just realized I misspelled assignment. That's a little embarrassing. Your role is to improve, and your role is to do the things that you can do to become a better educator. So your assignment is to check out some of these Ken Robinson videos if you've not been there, and to take a look at one of his books, Out of Our Minds. It's essentially about what's wrong with education, how we can be creative, how we can raise our kids to be creative. And all of these things, I truly think, come back to adult education as well. We have a whole lot of work to do, and I think we're getting better and better at it. Foam, free open access education, I think, has improved the way that we deliver educational material. We're not 100% there yet, but with the addition of social media and other things, I think we're starting to reach learners more and more. And I think ultimately, the ultimate goal should be that the teacher should go where the learner is. You have to match up with that. If the learner is not in the classroom, then you shouldn't go to the classroom. If the learner isn't in the textbook that weighs 500 pounds, then that's not where you should send them. We have to learn how to meet up, and we know where the learners are. We truly do. I'll mention just a little bit about Twitter, and then we'll end this segment. Twitter, I thought several years ago, was just a fun little thing you could do to update people on what you were doing. I saw some Twitter posts, and I thought, who cares? Some of these posts years ago when I first got into Twitter, I thought were completely worthless. The more and more I looked at it, however, the more I realized that there may be something to this. And over the years, I have come to realize that a lot of good things that have happened to me in my academic life are because of Twitter. I've met people that I'm friends with now that I collaborate on with educational products like Mike Cadogan, Chris Nixon. I've met people, Rob Orman and other people through podcasting. I've been given opportunities to speak because of people I met on Twitter. That's right, met on Twitter. I get updated. I get articles, PDFs, websites, awesome, funny, educational videos because people send these out on Twitter. And ultimately, I think Twitter is a faculty development tool. And this talk is really about Flip the Classroom, but I thought I would tie it in because you can utilize Twitter to help guide you to where learners are as well. So Twitter, social media, all of those things will simply help you become a better educator. The point of all of this really is that I think we have to rethink the way that we teach. And so the other assignment would be that the next time you're given an assignment to give a lecture or a talk, think about the way you're delivering that education. And if you're going in with a PowerPoint slides, 60, 70 slides, bullet point after bullet point, and you're going to stand there and teach these residents or whatever group, think about doing it differently. Think about doing it from a different perspective and really try to flip that classroom. An experiment we're going to try with the International Faculty Development and Teaching course in Maryland we have once a year is an experiment where we flip the course, where we're going to have people prepare for certain talks beforehand and then have richer, deeper discussions during the course. And I think that's going to be the trend. You're going to see that over and over and over again in courses, in schools. People have realized that this is something that works. So we've talked about Flip the Classroom. We've talked about social media. We've talked about Ken Robinson. We've talked about a lot of things. The Khan Academy website. We're going to have some educational videos and more things related to this in future editions of the Medical Education video series. Whew, I'm out of breath. So I'm going to go ahead and end with that. I'm Rob Rogers. Send me an email, robrogersmd@gmail.com. Check out the blog, iteachem.net, along with Chris Nixon and John Greenwood. I will see you back next time for another video, hopefully a video that will help you enhance your career in faculty development and medical education. All right, bye for now.